that they may be facing right now. And, let's try to get some answers to those things, but in the process, help others to understand, what it is that they can do. In this time, it is just so critical, one, to find customers, right? Many of the, for people that have a brick and mortar type business, where they're used to people going to their business, people aren't maybe going the same way that they used to, or at least not in the same numbers. So how do we address that? So first, we're going to start with Jim and Miriam, and we're going to talk about, first, that we would love to hear from them. If you can just introduce yourself, Jim, and, talk about what you have seen has been the major challenge for you from a marketing perspective over the last, year. But take yourself off mute, Jim.
You're on mute, Jim. Jim, you're on mute. Good to see you. Yep, there you go.
Okay. Yes, hi. Nice to see you guys. Yeah, we had to adjust our business. Of course, we developed a rather large catering business going before the pandemic, and we were supplying pharmaceutical companies. We were doing off-site catering, things of this nature. That all went by the wayside once the pandemic hit. And Miriam and myself and Ellen and some of our other staff, we just shifted, and we ended up, and Miriam can add a little more to this. We developed a website that was, because we're a retail store, also retail food market. We developed an online ordering system where people would come do curbside pickups, and that really helped us fill the void of the lack of customers coming in the store and the lack of offsite catering and like this. Right, Miriam, you have any?
Great, Miriam.
Yeah, so I think what we did, we had an online ordering system before, and we found that early into COVID, customers were afraid to come in the store, and but they wanted a Barth's experience. And a Barth's experience is not necessarily a grocery store shopping cart. It's, I want my steak cut a certain way, but I want you to bring it to my car, and I want to know I'm going to get what I'm asking for. So we basically allowed people to type up a grocery list with all of the little things that they wanted, and we call it a grocery list, but it might be specialty meats and things like that. And we were frankly overwhelmed with demand in the very beginning for that. Right now, I think it's, turn your speaker off. Right now, I think we're in a better place because more people are able to go in the store. But it has been smaller, as Jim had said, smaller orders that we're getting in terms of it's family dinners for 4 to 6. So holiday time, we were focused on before for catering, even summer barbecues, all these kind of catering events. We had to shift focus to smaller groups instead of focusing on making dinners for 10 to 12 or 20 or 30 people for a 4th of July barbecue. Now, what can we do for a package for 4 to 6 people? And we did that between Thanksgiving and New Year, which had tremendous demand, actually. There was a huge market for that previously there wasn't a market for. So it's a shift and kind of recognizing what the customers need now, I guess.
Jim, I have to, one of your mics has to be, mute has to be on.
Yeah, we're hearing an echo.
Yeah, there's an echo, Jim. That's why I was muting you. So.
No, sorry about that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So one of you have to, because you're in the same room, so.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something?
All right, terrific. No, that's actually a great place to pause. And let's bring in our expert from Brand Sonify, Rousseau. And first, if you can just introduce yourself a little bit and your expertise, and then we're gonna, I'll ask the first question to dive in so we can really take a look at how a business that, doesn't sound like they had a tremendous online presence and really leveraged that channel so much previously. How do you leverage that even more? It sounds like it's been a lifeline. How do we even make more of that? Rousseau. Take yourself off mute first.
There you go. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to really contribute and help out. I started a company called Gazelle, where people can trade in their cell phones. And I started in my garage, and I helped grow the company to over $120 million in revenue per year. And when Gazelle was $120 million in revenue per year, I was spending a little bit more than $2 million in marketing and brand marketing per month. So the $2 million spending per month generated somewhere between $8 to $9 million in revenue. So that's sometimes a 5x return on the ad spend. The reason I was able to go so aggressive with advertising and marketing is because I had raised $60 million in venture capital from companies like Venwalk Capital. So I had the funds to be able to do that. So I understand most small companies are not in the position where they can do that. But because I went through this phase of really doing a lot of digital marketing, I ended up with what I would say the equivalent of a PhD in digital marketing. And when I exited Gazelle, I realized that I could really help founder CEOs who doesn't have a CMO. This is something Steve Jobs really understood. Before, it's all about the way you position your brand, the way you communicate the value of the brand. You can actually survive in tough time just because you have a great brand. People would continue to support the brand even in tough time. So that's what I do now. I work with founders and CEOs, and I help them put together strategies that can help them build brand awareness and generate additional revenue. In your case, it's amazing what you guys have accomplished during a very, very tough time. A lot of businesses, were not able to actually survive that, and to be able to actually, navigate from a large catering business to smaller portions. It's also really, it actually tells you what's happening in terms of how people consume food now. There's a lot of opportunities in the way people are consuming food. If you look at the evolution of how food consumption happened, and that's another thing about marketing, you have to actually give, you have to take a step back sometimes to see where you are right now in the history of humanity. If you take a step back, you can say, okay, people used to actually just hunt and gather. Then they went to the farmers market, which some people do right now, but mostly for style. And then a lot of people eat out, and delivery is a big business. But delivery gives you food that's already made. So if you want to actually cook some food at home, then ordering meal kits gives you that pleasure. You don't have to go shopping or meal prep. You can just actually cook at home. So if you look at all those behaviors, then you say, okay, as a brand, Barth, people trust your brand. What can I offer into those different segments? And how do you communicate the brand value? So even in tough time, people say, these are the guys I want to do business with because I know what they stand for. So I'm happy to help actually answer whatever questions you have related to brand marketing or getting more sales out of social media. Happy to contribute.
So let's go through a series of questions here, starting first with, in this world of just trying to market online, what are the strategies, given their business, what are the strategies that they should be thinking about using? When you look at emails, social media, commercials, direct mail, print ads, all these different things, how should they be thinking about this mix, recognizing that, maybe they don't have a $2 million monthly advertising budget?
That's right. The good news is that the cost of technology and the cost of all of those things that when I was doing Gazelle have gone way down. So you can accomplish the same exact type of things, right? On a smaller budget of 5,000, even slightly smaller than $5,000 per month. So you can start small for sure. The one thing you cannot do is ignore all the channels. So you have to go multi-channel, even if you're small. You have to do the email marketing. You have to do social media. You have to do SEO. You have to write a blog on your website where you contribute a recipe. You have to talk about the story of the brand to remind people about the brand. Unfortunately, whether you are Apple or you are a family-owned business, the approach to digital marketing is the same. It has to be omni-channel. That's where the audience is the only way the audience know how to engage now. So we're reaching a point where, unfortunately, for better or for worse, consumers don't make decisions anymore. They let their walls dictate what is it they should do next, what is it they should read next. They don't subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. They just go on LinkedIn and they actually read whatever shows up on their feed. So it's the same thing about digital marketing. When you advertise, you show up on their feed because the social network decided to show you in their feed, and then they might like your posts, but you don't see the engagement translating into sales. And the reason for that is because you have to ask them for something. You can't just post something. You have to start, maybe with a question. Say, hey, what do you guys think about this recipe? And that gives them an opportunity to respond. So those are the kind of omni-channel digital marketing that you have to do. It has to be engaging, and you have to also change the balance of the information that you're sharing. The balance falls into 4 categories. One category is transaction. As a business owner, that's the category we love most. We want to say, hey, we have a deal for you. We have a deal for you, right? But that category should be at the most 25% of all your posts. So 25% of the time you can ask for the business. That's the most. In fact, sometimes it's better to put that number a little bit lower. Now, 25, the second bucket is it's entertainment. A little bit of entertainment, a little bit of humor. Okay, so for example, you guys bake something, you bake a pie that comes out crooked of the oven. Post a picture of that. Say, hey, look what happened to this pie. It shows the brand personality. That falls into the category of entertainment. The third category is, it's inspirational. And then the fourth category is educational. This is how you make a very good, béarnaise sauce. This is how, I'm gonna show you how to make, this little secret about béarnaise sauce. You don't have to actually do it in the bath water anymore. You can do it in a blender now, So you have education, you have entertainment, you have inspirational stuff, and you also have some transaction stuff. When you do that, you show the personality of the brand, and that makes people engage with the brand more.
So let's stop and ask Miriam and Jim right now, what of those things are you doing now?
Well, actually, I was really excited because I think we're doing a lot of those things. I do have some questions, but for example, we email customers several times a year. I don't want to say, once a month at most. We don't want to, I don't know what's too much in terms of email. We don't want to be the annoying person where you don't read the email because you get too many emails. Like, what's too much for email before people start to check out? We have a database of customer emails, and those are the people we email. We are not subscribing to any lists and emailing people. Only people that we know shop at Barth's, are vetted as Barth's customers, get our emails. We also boost posts on Facebook. We put them in our own page, but we boost them so that other people can see them. We just started a digital marketing campaign where we're doing those banners and the ads that show up in people's feed, where it's the power of suggestion of your brand. We have a website. We're also, we've done direct mail. That was really successful with the
recipes.
Yeah, and we've done, that's right, recipes. We post them online. We hang them in our store as well. So it's sort of advertising within the store. You know, you're shopping for chicken, but you see a recipe for pork chops. Maybe you'll pick up pork chops too and try this recipe at home. We don't do the recipes. At first, we started doing them every month. Now we do them every few months, but we have probably 10 of them on our website that people could access as well. We're also looking at some other digital ideas, one of which is doing a commercial, but not on mainstream cable, something that probably would be like as part of streaming videos when you get those ads sometimes. So short ads that might show up before someone streams an episode of This Old House or something on Food Network or whatever. So that's something that we're in the very early stages of, where we've been talking to somebody, but we also have to get videos and things like that put together. I guess, you know, my questions, because I thought those were all really good. I like the, you know, the transaction, the inspiration, the education, all of that. And I think that most of our, say, our posts and emails are not transaction based. Some of them are, here's a product, here's a picture of our product. And then we do transaction based, as in we're selling a holiday meal for 4 to 6 if you would like to order it. We never do sales, or rarely ever do sales. And I guess one of the questions that I have about that is, I feel like that's the place that everybody's always trying to push us when they're offering us, you know, advertising or media. You could promote this sale, you could put coupons, you could do this. It's not really something we do as part of our business.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's not something we're really comfortable with, but is it something that, is that really the best way? Or can you successfully tap into all of these, you know, media outlets without having sales and coupons and things like that? How important do you think that is? Because I feel like that's something that everybody who does print ads, everybody who's doing media and they're trying to sell us, you know, advertising, they're always trying to get us to put in a sale.
Okay. Do you do Catalina ads? Catalina ads?
What are?
I don't think we all know what Catalina ads
No,
are.
I don't think I do.
Okay, so Catalina ads are specific to retail businesces.
Right.
And it's when you print the receipt to give to the customer and there's something in it for them to come back with later.
Okay.
Okay, so those type of ads are really, really, really successful. They're like one of the most successful ads in the retail and food and beverage industry. So that's why whenever you go into a CVS or, you know, a Whole Foods, you know, the receipt has a suggestion for what you should buy, and, you know, an incentive. So coupons are a big deal in when it comes to food and beverages, because people do need a motivation to try. I think the number of SKUs that you have in your store is in the thousands. The number of SKUs in the entire industry is in the tens of thousands. And yet they say that consumers spend 90% of their money on 100 and some, less than 200. I don't know the exact number, but it's less than 200 SKUs. So 200 SKUs is basically taking all the funds, and then the rest of them are fighting for it, are fighting for scrap pretty much. So it's very important, if you want to survive as a new brand, or if you want them to try something that's not one of the 200 brands, you got to give them something and a motivation to try it. And then after that, they don't have to do that. And you don't have to see it as anything except for giving them a motivation to try it. But let me see if I remember some of the questions you had embedded in your comment.
Rousseau, can I ask one follow-up question on that? How might they do that in a digital environment if they're not printing out a paper receipt with that on there? How might they do that in a digital environment?
Okay, so exactly. So in a digital environment, you would have to do it via email. So to answer your question about email, you are lucky to be in an industry. So you're right, you can't email a customer too much, but food happened to be something that we are experienced with at least 21 times a week, right? So, so because of that, there is at least once a week where you can say, you can have an email called Menu of the Week, or you can have a newsletter that's at least weekly to say, did you know, the following product. So that's how I would do it. I would give incentive in the newsletter. The newsletter would primarily focus on, something you may want to try for the week. But the engagement needs to stay consistent. So if you think about branding and marketing, it isn't that different than a great relationship. So if you're not spending time with your loved ones, you don't have a great relationship with them. And if you're not spending time with your customers, the relationship is going to be reflective of that. So if you're one of those brands, so for example, Gazelle did not have the benefit of selling a service that like food that somebody needs every day, right? Somebody maybe need to trade their phone once a year or once every 18 months. So because of that, they forget about Gazelle. The next time they have a phone to trade in, I have to pay advertising to acquire that customer again because they already forgot about me, right? You don't have to suffer that. Because people are eating all the time, you have to do something called the buyer journey. The buyer journey is you take a look and you say, you know what? There's a family of 4 who comes to my store. What else do they need? What else is going on in their lives? What are they thinking? We're going into spring. Are they already thinking about getting ready for a beach body for the summer? So you need to understand all of that so that way your messaging can support what they're going through in their personal lives. People eat for nutrition reason, they eat for entertainment. So you have to understand completely, why people consume food. And then your conversation needs to support that. So in terms of frequency, I would say for you, a minimum once a week, a very nicely prepared newsletter that has recipes in it. Lots of recipes. The more recipes, the better. That's gonna boost your local SEO. When people are looking for stuff, they say, oh, and then the more time they encounter the brand, the better. So I don't know if that answers the question, but the frequency for the email, I'm very comfortable suggesting that you go at least once a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but do it tastefully, right? So you want to offer them something, something nice. Don't just do products, right? You have to actually take the time to say, to talk about, maybe you want to highlight one recipe. I came across an article. I mean, it might be a little, you know your target audience more than I do, but I came across an article that caught my interest because they're saying that there's micronutrients in what we eat, and depending on what you eat, it will have a lot of those micronutrients that you need to reproduce your cells, and you only need like 18 of them. And some food, this article was talking about, it says, some places in South America, when they use black corn to make tortilla, and they put black beans in it and some cheese, from this simple meal, they get all the 18 important elements they need for rebuilding the cells. I mean, this sounds a little bit too technical, but you'll know your audience more than I do, and you'll know if you can actually add those kind of tidbits of information in the article, but make it interesting. Make it something that people look forward to reading, because they might actually learn something from it. And then they also will see the ad for trying something new.
Right. Well, I think that we have the benefit of having a very broad demographic. Our audience is anywhere, our audience being, marketing wise, but our customers really are people from college age to, late retirement years and everyone in between. So we have a variety of phases of life and a variety of interests that we can tap into where, if the newsletter doesn't reach you this week because it's not relevant to you, the next week's might be. So in terms of sort of variety of messages, we try to do variety of messages in our posts and things like that on Facebook. But I could see that, like that kind of newsletter, it doesn't have to be a hit every week with every person who reads it, right? Because
exactly,
one person's interested in micronutrients, another person's interested in what's a fast dinner I can put on the table for my kids before sports.
That's exactly. There's there's a demographic for that. And now if you're doing this digitally, you can even go as far as splitting the newsletter to be appropriate to the right audience. So that's like the next version. You can do something generic to begin with, but as it starts to work, you can also split it because it's digital.
Good.
You know, this when I visited your website, your business reminded me of a job that I had in high school. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Boston, but I went to Cambridge Range and Latin School between Harvard and MIT. And there's a little market called Broadway Market. And I used to work there after school. And the level of service you get from that little market is unparalleled. So I can imagine when I was looking at your website, you guys probably do the same thing. Somebody can walk in, they take a wine and it goes into the wine cooler while they're shopping. So when they're done eating, the food is already ready for them. When they're done shopping, they can get some grilled fish and pick up a cold wine at the same time. So I imagine you guys do the same kind of thing.
Oh, you're on mute, Jim.
The unique thing about our business is we employ 65 people, but always on hand every part of the day is 40, 45 people. And we give tremendous service to the customers, and they can go, as you say, get fresh fish. They can go around the corner and get prepared food. If the parents bring their children in after sports, they can get them a sandwich. They can get cold cuts. So we're very diversified with all what we offer. And we've expanded, as you say, the SKUs. I call them just items, but most of all these items are produced by us. So we have a manufacturing facility in the back. And we've seen during the pandemic, we saw our customer counts drop dramatically. But our sales eventually increased due to the changes we implemented with the online order systems. And we figured out a way how to get the people exactly what they wanted at the time. And then, and now our customer counts are up maybe 1,000, 1,500 more a week than they had been before the pandemic.
That's right.
So the people have stayed with us.
That's
and all the good things that Miriam and Ellen and my son and the rest of our staff has implemented seem to work. So that's why I was a little bit reluctant in the marketing aspect, because we are so unique. But I do like a lot of the things that you mentioned, and I'm like, I don't want to say I'm the old horse, but I just want to, like, Miriam's always pushing me and prodding me to do things. And I think with the proper guidance, I think there's definitely like the newsletter or recipes once a week instead of once every 2 months. I think all that brings up conversation. She put out a great sandwich, cheesesteak recipe. It's still on our website, and people still come in, and we're slicing, ribeyes and giving them the meat, and it's really I think one of the guys was saying, why are we slicing so many ribeyes, pound and a half? That's, the steak's about a pound and we got to slice a pound and a half. And then we said, well, check your iPhone, look at what we're offering on the website. And so it was kind of neat. And we also, with our staff, we've got 4 or 5 top flight chefs that work for us that now have transferred back into butchering. So we've got that appeal with the fresh raw meat, the prime meat and all that, but then we can take 1 or 2 of these guys and put them back in the kitchen if we have, some nice events or as this economy opens up again,
Well, Jim, you're making me hungry. Rousseau, let's.
Well, if we were in person, I'm sure we would have brought lunch for all you guys.
So Rousseau, let's because we want to also get to LaPergola and talking to Driola about what they're doing from the customer standpoint. But Rousseau, let's have kind of one last comment about how do you maximize the return? So for folks that are getting into this, the digital marketing and boosting ads and doing all these different things, what is the way that you know that you're really maximizing the return on your investment?
Yes. Okay. So the old adage in marketing is that half of your marketing dollars are working. You just don't know which half. Okay. So so it with digital marketing, on the other hand, you can measure what's actually working. But in the case of Barth, I have a different advice for you guys. You have what I would call a family business, which is a great business, and you really are probably in the position where you don't have to market if you don't want to. But if you look at market leaders, they allocate a percentage of their revenue to market, no matter how strong their positions are. No matter what strong of a position they're in, they still do the marketing. So that's my advice to you guys, is to take a percentage of revenue and invest it either in customer service, because customer service is another form of marketing. The 40 people you have greeting everybody when they come in, that's another form of marketing, right? So you want to actually create an amazing customer experience, keep investing in creating, maintaining, and enhancing that amazing customer experience that you have right now, but do it blindly. Say, I'm going to take 5% of revenue or 2% or 3% of revenue, whatever the number needs to be, and invest into different initiative for doing that. If you get to the point where you have enough left, I would, to answer your question, Jill, I would actually invest a little bit in analytics. So there are tools that you can use that will look at all the data that's flowing in from Facebook, from Instagram.
We started doing that. Yep.
Okay. Yep. And then what they do is they'll show you what the engagement rate is, what the performance rate is. They try to achieve attribution, but attribution is hard now. The only way you can test attribution, it's a little bit flawed. So for example, you can say, I sell more sandwiches when I post this sandwich on Instagram. And then you might think that that's really the reason you sell more sandwiches, but it just so happened to be that maybe it was game seasons when you were selling more sandwiches. You don't really see the correlation, so the attribution may be flawed. But just stick to it, because you have an amazing brand. So you almost want to do what they call a defensive marketing, right? You want to defend the brand.
Think, but Miriam's been hitting on a lot of these points that you've been talking about. And she deserves a lot of credit for that.
They're a legendary market. Let's make sure we get Driola in here. So I want to make sure before we get out.
Sure.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
So Driola, we had a great conversation the other day, and you were really highlighting the importance of customer service for you and how you've made that an emphasis of retaining your customers, and those customers have helped you to survive during this time. And you have a lot of folks that are very loyal. Just talk a little bit about what you are doing around customer service.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. You can unmute.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute. Got it.
There we go.
Okay. Hi, I'm Driola. I'm the owner and chef. We've been in this business for 11 years. Actually, I jokingly say my husband dragged me into this business. I really knew how hard it was, so I really didn't want to be part of it, but he loved it, and here I am now. So what made us a very unique business here, it's being myself and my husband in the business. We have a great great workers. We invest a lot on training them. I teach them from A to Z. I mean, one goes to one station, from the salads to the pasta to the grill. So if somebody is sick or somebody is not showing up for work, I can totally, have my staff move from one station to another station. And to me, I find that very effective, and they get along with each other pretty well. And, I seen it in the beginning of the business. If somebody only worked on the salads, it would be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. So, trying to get great people and understanding that working as a team, it's the best way to do it. When we're super busy, I throw myself in any of the station just to help. For example, sometimes depending on the day, we have a lot of pastas because pretty much we make all of them home. And I just go and throw myself in that station and help the pasta guy. And, for lunch, we do a lot of salads with a grilled shrimp or grilled chicken. So that's where we all focus on that to make it very special, to cut it very fresh, and just bring the best in front of the customer. And that's the main focus for me, is training my workers. And
Driola, let me hop in and ask a question here. How do you communicate that to your audience, to existing customers, and they know that, but how are you communicating this to people who maybe don't know the experience just yet?
I think that the best way for a customer to know you is having their first bite. When they see that the food is fresh and it presents beautiful in their plate, they know that somebody special is making it for them, and that person is trained, and that person takes a really good pride on what they're making. So to me, it's bringing that special attention to the plate. That's a customer, that's what they want, and that's what they're expecting from us. So
now that's when they get the first bite, right? How do we get them to the point of taking that first bite?
I do advertise on email. I do send emails. I have like 4,000, I do not push it too often. But for example, this week I did send an email about the snow, just jokingly, like you're saying, with a little humor. What do you do when it snows? Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, just, and reminding them that we have a little veranda that you can still sit in outside. And, and that we are here, and, we're delivering or doing takeouts. So just reminding them and showing them that we're open, we're there. We had tons of calls right after that. And another email I sent, we actually got, I usually do in February after Valentine's, because again, the business is that, and not just because of the COVID. February after Valentine's, really nothing going on. I got a wheel of cheese, a Parmigiano Reggiano, and we make the gnocchis inside of it, the risotto. I make even gluten-free, whole wheat, whatever people want, and just to make it fun in front of them. And it just I put it on Facebook, I put it on Instagram, I put it in Twitter, so people can see it, what we're doing, and I boost it so other people can see it too. And we got a lot of, last night it was like, because we're so limited to how many people we can put inside, I was actually bringing it outside too. So I was like trying to do both, and people like that, just making it a little more fun, just, because that's what food should be. It should be delicious and served in a fun way, so.
Absolutely. And so, Rousseau, I have a question for you. She has this this mailing list of 4,000 people. And she's doing the social media. How can she best leverage that email list? How can she go beyond just the people who she already has to getting more based on that email list?
Yeah. Well, customer relationship management is what comes to mind. When I actually love a restaurant, the first thing is always the food. So, the food has to be great. But the second thing has to be whether they remember little things, where you like to sit, what do you like to drink? So I think that's one area that I would use that email list to start trying to learn more about each of the individuals. Because I know you probably already know, maybe you're in 4,000, and if you're passionate about this business, you probably already know something about everybody. But knowing more, the more you can know about your customers, the more you can create a unique experience for them. I don't know what the velocity or the frequency of visit needs to be in order for you to feel that the customer is yours. But if somebody comes in once a week or once a month, depending on which category you put them in. That's an amazing customer. You know, that's a customer you don't have to acquire over and over because they keep coming back. So that's what I would use that email address for, to segment the customers, get to know, use it to develop, to get to know more about each one of them, and then segment them so you can deliver a unique experience to them.
Driola, do you know how many
and
times you're seeing your customers?
I'm sorry?
Do you know how many times your average customer is coming in?
We are a very local business, so I have people that will show up every Sunday. I have people that are here every Friday, or I have people that are here 3 times a week, and or take out like at least 2 times a week. And they know if I don't have a certain food, they're like, I'm ordering tomorrow, so you got to make it for me. We are very hands-on on customizing people's food. I told Jill, a 105-year-old customer that we deliver every night. And he's like, Driola, I cannot think of what I want to eat tonight. You tell me what should I eat. And I'm like, have you had the scallops? He's like, no, but you can make them for me. So we do try to be very personal with our clientele. I had a cancer patient that I made certain food for them. I had, people that got the COVID. I made soups. I made even chicken soup. That is now my thing, whatever they wanted, just so. And I even sent it without charging them, just because I wanted them just a feel better kind of a takeout. Or so people appreciate that, and they stay with you. So
do you reward referrals? Driola, do you reward referrals? So do you reward people who bring in other?
I absolutely. Whoever, for example, if this gentleman that his whole family, it comes over. So they're all from around, the States. They're not from New Jersey. So when they come to visit him, I would just bring a whole beautiful dinner on us. And now all the kids are like big fan of, our food, and whatever they're back home to visit the dad, they don't go anywhere else because we just do it. When the older gentlemen tell us that my family is visiting, I just make a beautiful package and just deliver it for them. So it's very personal. Like Jim said, we never do sales. We don't, if you tell me it's your birthday, even for takeout, I put a dessert in, and I try to remember what is their favorite, and a little candle and a little note, happy birthday. So people appreciate that. I mean, again, just being personal and appreciating them. And that's what I guess everybody wants in these days, to be recognizable and to know that you appreciate them. So
yeah.
And Rousseau, how do you translate that into digital and your online presence? When
that's my only, I'm too modest about that. We don't need a lot to charities and stuff, and that's my only thing that I have a friend who said you have to absolutely like brag about it because you guys do so many great things. I'm like, I don't want to be like, hey, I am delivering to homeless shelter today, or hey, I don't know how to do that without being like the movie stars that they go take a picture at the a shelter that, oh, here I am, I'm donating, or I that's my only thing. And it is nice to put it out there so people get involved too. Just encourage somebody else to do the same thing. I think it's important for me to do that, but I don't know how to do it. And I have a hard time with that.
Rousseau, what do you suggest?
So you basically have to own it. You have to own it. It's a great story. And, like you said, if you share it, it will inspire other people to do it too. That's one of the 4 categories of contribution. Inspiration is a big deal. People are looking.
Should I show up myself there, or should I just like take
you should add,
here I am kind of a picture? I really have a hard time with that.
Don't do it that way at all. So the way you are right now is the way you're supposed to do it. You are a laid-back person based on the way you are on this, the way you're talking about the business, no nonsense. So when you're actually sharing on social media, don't don't become theater. Don't turn into theater mode. Use the same personality. Say, hey, this is what I'm doing this Saturday. You guys want to join me? Just say it like that. Say it in your own, use your own voice to communicate to your target audience, because they already know that voice. When they come in to see you, that's the voice they're familiar with. So use the exact same one on social media, but definitely do not have, don't get shy about it. I mean, in India, they say that a life without fame is like a fire without flame. So, so embrace the fame, even if it's on a, small scale, because you inspiring other people, but don't do it in a bragging way. Do the opposite. Do it in a modest way. Do it like Mother Teresa if you can, but do it like as a matter of fact sort of way. I don't know what are you doing this Saturday, but I'm gonna do this. If anybody wants to join me, or you can actually say, I'm donating 100 plates, but these guys could use 200 plates. Does anybody else wants to contribute a few plates?
Okay.
And then that gives
Great
people
idea.
a chance.
Okay.
Yeah. And that also brings the brand personality on social media, because you already have people experiencing that inside the restaurant. You want to do it online, and because it's inspiring to the world, right? It's not just, I mean, when I say the world, like your local community benefits from seeing something like that, right? Like we almost have to fight the opposite of news.
Yeah.
Like when you news is all negative, so do something, share something positive.
That's one of my main things. Even when people come in and they're like, oh, this snow, it's like, oh, it's beautiful outside, just look at the trees, how gorgeous they look, I'm so glad you made it in, and let's have a great meal. Sometimes I do try to go a lot out just to see how other people are handling the situation that we're in. And and they put you down as soon as, oh, it has been horrible, how you guys doing? I'm like, that's such a bad approach. The customer has enough in their plate. They don't want to hear you like having a hard time. It's just like positive, a little humor, and
That's right.
that goes, and being kind and being sincere of what you're offering to them.
That's right. One tactical thing I wanted to say. I heard you mention something about you boost posts on social media.
Yeah.
So just be cautious around that, because it could be a waste of money. So what happened is when you post something and you say boost it, then Facebook try to just show it, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, they try to show it to as many people as possible. So but that's not really what you should do. You should create a Facebook ad manager account.
Okay.
And then you can go and select your actual zip code as the demographic.
I do that. Yeah,
Okay.
I do that actually.
Good.
Yeah.
Miriam?
So with the boosting, you don't get to do retargeting. But with the ad manager, you can actually say, oh, I want to show this ad to the same people I've shown ads to before. But boosting doesn't allow you to do.
Miriam, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I thought what Driola was saying about not wanting to brag about the nice things you do. This is something that Jim is very similar in a mindset, and he doesn't, like to advertise things that he did. And I know at one of the Family Business Awards, when people heard, they said, we didn't know you do that. So the one thing that we learned through that experience was that the customers love to know that you do that, because they want to support businesses that are supporting local people. So it's not bragging, it's actually making your customers feel good about shopping, going to your restaurant.
Yes.
And the other thought was that sometimes the places where you're donating, maybe they could do the media for you, and then you don't have to be the one doing it. For instance, I know a lot of towns had this flag for the first responders where they were delivering lunches and things like that. Well, when Barth's did the meals, they said, hold on, we need to take your picture and we're going to put it on our website. And then they tag us. So let people tag you. That was my only, addition, that you don't have to do it all. Other people can tag you too, and accept that.
Great point. We're almost
Well,
done.
we are at time. So, I want to thank Jim and Miriam and Driola and, for sharing your stories and sharing some of your concerns and where you've been and what you've done. And Rousseau, thank you so much for joining us to share your
My pleasure. My
expertise.
pleasure.
It's been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
And again, brand Sonify.
Thank you.
Dale, turning it back over to you to close us out.
Jill, I want to thank you for setting this up. And I'd love to hear from our audience if I love this program where you're actually watching people going through things that are similar to you. So if we want us to do more of these hackathons, Jill comes up with the name, the hackathons. So we'll do marketing, we could do finance, we could do anything. So if you like it, we'll do more of it. So just thank you all, Miriam and Jim and Driola and Rousseau and Jill, this is great. So see everybody next week. Have a great weekend and support family businesses.
That's right.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend. Bye.
Thank you.